My name is Andrew Nave. I'm a candidate for State Senate District 49, which includes all of Clinton County and the northeast portion of Scott County. I look forward to getting to meet and get to know many of you over the next year, and if I'm elected, for many years to come. It's my pleasure and honor today to get to introduce our special guests, and I have to say that I'm very excited that we have two proven leaders that have experience at bringing jobs to our state, because that is something we desperately need here in eastern Iowa and all over the state. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Governor Terry Branstad and Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds.
Thank you all very much. Andrew Nave, thank you for that very nice introduction. And thank you all for joining us for this town hall meeting focused on jobs and especially on property tax relief. I want to thank Rastrelli's for hosting us. This is a great restaurant. I've eaten here many times and been here to many events, but anyway, it's a great asset for Clinton and for the state of Iowa. We're here today to discuss an issue that's extremely important, and that is the property tax system in the state of Iowa. Everyone knows that property taxes are too high and something needs to be done. What is often missed is that if the legislature fails to do anything about property tax this year, these taxes will go up $2 billion over the next 8 years. The reason for that is because of a decision that was made in the Iowa legislature back in the 1970s. You may recall, I was in the legislature in the 70s, so I'll take some of the blame for this. But what happened, we were going through this inflationary time and people were buying farmland as a hedge against inflation. And the Farm Bureau came to the legislature and said, valuing farmland based on market value, it just doesn't pay out because people are buying land at these inflated values, and if you look at the price of corn and soybeans, it doesn't make sense. So they suggested that we change the way we value farmland to a productivity based on a 5-year rolling average, looking at yields and the price of corn and soybeans. And so we did that. But also at the same time, they didn't want to see a shift from the two biggest classes of property are ag and residential. They want to see a shift in residential, so they tied ag and residential together. This was back in the late 70s. And so then we went through the farm crisis of the 80s and those times, and farmland values, of course, went down during that time, and so did residential. And we had a rollback, and residential taxes went down to being taxed at only like 50% of market value. But we didn't do anything about the other class of property, commercial and industrial. So when I was governor before, and we were trying to get more in one of the big projects we were working on was IPSCO Steel, and they ended up putting a plant here in eastern Iowa between Davenport and Muscatine, and we got rid of the tax on machinery and equipment for industry. But we still tax commercial property tax at 100% of market value. Now, two previous governors and several general assemblies have said, promise they're going to do something about it. But it's difficult and it's complicated, and consequently, in the end, the legislature has failed to act for all these many years. Last year we had a plan and we've improved it. We heard some of the concerns. Our plan was a 5-year plan. It was to reduce commercial property tax from 100% to 60% to make it competitive over a 5-year period. So this year we've adjusted that to say we'll do it over 8 years. It's going to go down 5% a year. The state will provide a reimbursement of about $240 million to local governments to ensure that they're not going to lose revenue. And for property that have been put in what they call TIF districts or tax increment financing districts, and those they've sold bonds and they're counting on 100% market value to pay back those bonds for those projects that help the properties in those districts. They will stay at the 100% until that TIF project is completed. Then they will come in at the lower level like everybody else. And we also have assured local governments that there's a trigger that if in a year it looks like revenue is not going to exceed previous years, we will slow down the phase down of the commercial property tax. So this is a bill and the House has included some other items in it, but House File 2274 has passed the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, is now in the Senate. And the Senate Democrats have indicated their interest in increasing the earned income tax credit for lower income Iowans. And I've said I'm very willing to include that along with this permanent reform of the commercial property tax and limiting the growth of residential and agricultural property as well. Our plan actually benefits residential property the most. It would save residential property taxpayers $606 million. It would save commercial and industrial $347 million. It would save agricultural property taxpayers $226 million. Additionally, our plan will protect small business who rent property on a net lease. A lot of startup businesses can't afford to own their own building, so they'll rent. But those of you that know how commercial real estate is handled, usually the landlord will insist that the tenant would pay their share of the property tax. And so it's really tough for startup and small businesses because with its very high commercial property taxes, that gets passed on to them. And so under our plan, if you have a net lease and the property taxes go down 5%, the cost to the tenant that's paying that will also go down. So it benefits those startup businesses as well. Looking back, the period 2001 to 2010, property tax revenues in Iowa grew on average of 4.79%, almost 5%. Commercial property taxes grew even more at 8.24% a year. Yet during that same period of time, median family income only grew by 1.87%. It's simply not affordable, our present property tax system. And I will continue to fight for genuine solution to this, a permanent, long-term approach. We have, I think, have perfected and improved our bill. I'm pleased that it's passed the House. We need your help to convince the Senate that we cannot afford to delay any longer. If we do, we're going to be faced with this massive property tax increase which will really hurt our ability. Iowans are frustrated by lack of action over this many years on this issue because it's been 30 years that politicians have promised to fix this problem and not delivered. Here's a time that we can do it. We need your help. We need the legislature to work with us to get it done. This is the year to stop the alarming trend of skyrocketing property taxes and give Iowans the relief that they deserve. One of the reasons this has taken so long is because it is complicated and we recognize it's not easy. It's time, however, to end the excuses, and I believe it's time to take action. Now the House has passed the legislation. We need your help working with the Senate. And this is critical to provide the jobs that we need to grow the Iowa economy.